say, can you sort of go through how it happened?
Oh, I just did it the first test. Did it probably the first minute of the first game. Made a tackle. Didn't really get a scan. Played the next two. Thought it was hopefully ligament. Got a scan. Obviously, it was broken. Saw a specialist. Got some advice to probably get it done. And yeah, went from there. Obviously, longevity and health is important. So yeah, pretty happy it got done and sorted.
Fraser, we've noted Carlo's performances in the last few tests. He's been pretty sensational, especially defensively. But as a bloke who's competing for that 70 jumper, what do you feel of this?
He's been solid. I think he's stood up for Test footy, and yeah, happy for him to see him go well.
How do you feel watching the most recent game?
Oh, I mean, the first 30 minutes was great, and obviously it was tough as someone who's been in the group. Watching that probably second half. Obviously the boys, I wasn't there, haven't been there for the past month, but I know how hard they all work, and knowing that that's probably not how they wanted to close out that game. I felt for them and I was hurting with them.
So this Bledisloe Cup games, you get up for it naturally, but it's almost come to the perfect time and you can just sort of park sort of what happened in that last 20 minutes and use the sort of motivation and energy that comes with this sort of clash just to sort of as your main sort of drive and focus for this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're looking at the two games over there, we played 3 great halves of footy, had one slip up. You can't really focus on that. I'm sure there's lessons to be learned, but everyone's come back. Argentina's a tough place. They come back here, had a week off with family and friends, rejuvenate, and obviously at bars of playing the All Blacks, one of the best teams in the world, and testing ourselves. So there's not going to be a worry about the team not getting up for it.
Is this the biggest test of the year coming up against New Zealand?
I'll go. I probably wouldn't try not to put them in like a list of. I think that it's the week leading into each test is the most important for us. We've played. These are the 3 sides that we've played. 3 of the 4 semi-finalists in the World Cup just gone. So put them in whatever order you guys like. But just like week to week basis, it's really important that we're looking no further than the current test at hand. For a Sydney boy, like a Bledisloe Cup game in Sydney and like in a home stadium, it's pretty big. So that's an exciting thing coming up.
They're obviously one of the big forces of the game. You both come in with 2 wins, 2 losses. Is this kind of the time to capitalise on potentially a sort of weekend All Black side?
Yeah, you did this when you said weekend. They just came up against the guys that won the World Cup. So I don't know if weekend is a fair assumption or a fair assessment of where they're at, but like I can see where you're going.
Just less dominant than we've seen before.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I still look at it in the same way. They're one of the top tier nations in the world, as you said at the start there. But like really excited. Anytime I've got the opportunity to play the All Blacks, whether at home and away, I know I'm always looking forward to the task. I know this week the same vibe. We've just come in last night and everyone's chomping at the bit.
Tom, last week on the stand, Stephen Lawrence and Beck first both spoke about how they're expecting the All Blacks to come back bigger and stronger after losing 2 tests. From a player's point of view, what are you expecting for the All Blacks? Considering they haven't lost their last 2 games, are you expecting them to go an extra leg and just be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you lose, in particular you go back to back, as we sort of faced a couple of weeks ago, you certainly have your tail up and you're keen to rip in. Obviously after a week off too. But the brand of footy that they were playing, like they were a whisker away in both games that they lost, and I mean that like genuinely. They were, there was a part of that game that goes either way, and then the winning team obviously ran away with it. But for them, I think the Bledisloe Cup is just as exciting. I know that that rivalry goes deep. Oz and New Zealand always will. So we're expecting them to be up for it for sure.
Sticking on that theme, for you guys coming off a loss after playing probably 1.5 games of really good rugby in Argentina. Does that make you guys a bit more fired up and maybe stronger going into this test too?
Yeah, I mean, like no one hurts more than the playing group and the staff. We win together, we lose together sort of mentality. So for us leading in this week, we know that the 40 minutes that you alluded to there that was really disappointing last week is something that we're focused on making amends. And test footy is about that. Like it's small margins, being up at half time and then 1 or 2 moments and things happen. So we've got the same opportunity this week to make those wrongs turn into rights for us, which is exciting.
Talk about that to the second half. That first half is probably the best football that you guys have played all year. Is there what's sort of been spoken about from the coaching staff, particularly just how that attack was able to click and sort of play this type of rugby that you've been sort of building towards?
Yeah, I think it was definitely some of the best football we've played. We've played in 2 monsoons prior to that, so that probably was a fair contrast. The boys were pretty excited by the conditions. It was seriously warm over there too, so. Part of the cohesion that's sort of coming about. Obviously, there was a couple of changes in the team, but part of the game style that Joe and the coaches have created for us is that anyone can sort of come into the team and thrive in that environment, and I think we saw that in patches for sure.
Just if Slips is named for this game on the weekend, it'll make him the first Aussie to reach 140 caps. I guess what sort of experience, or what's it like just sort of looking up to a guy like that, having him to the side?
Yeah, I first came across Slips when I turned up to the Brums, so I've known him for almost the best part of 6 years now, and very, very good friends, and got to know his family obviously over that time too. So seeing him be able to achieve something like really, really special, that's an awesome milestone for him. Even though he'll put it, and try and bury that. He wants nothing about him. That's just the sort of team guy. He's the same way he plays the game. Wants none of the accolades, but happy to do all the work. And all his teammates will say the same thing. What a really special guy, plays the game the right way, and he's earned, the best part of 140 games for sure.
So Fraser, from your perspective, just as sort of a young forward coming into it, having someone like Slips who's been around the trap, seen everything, fellow Queensland as well, what does it sort of mean when you run out alongside someone like that?
Yeah, he's been through it all. Obviously, debuted when he was 20, and 14 years later, he's here, still playing, and someone who's been able to, he's played in every condition, every sort of test match, highs, lows. He's someone who's been through it, lived through it. So, as a young player, I suppose if you want to go speak to him, he's more than happy to help you out or to help your maybe anxiousness or anything like that, however you may feel. But yeah, like sort of what Wrighty said, like super proud of him, and 140 games is pretty special. So, if he gets picked and wherever that is, and he's still got the rest of the year, and I'm really excited to see him play some more really well, some good footy, and super proud of him.
This was only sort of this time 12 months ago that Joe was in the All Blacks camp. Is there an advantage that Kevy had there of Joe understanding that system so well, and that he can sort of help with sort of game planning, what to expect on Saturday?
I mean, he has been in their camp. I'm not sure how much has changed under Fraser and their new coaching setup. So that's tough to tell, but he's a New Zealander. We got Cronny as well. They understand the sort of system. I think more importantly, it's about reflecting how we are going to build and grow upon the 4 games previous in the TRC. Focusing on that and building and growing is probably more where the effort should be, and not worrying about New Zealand and how to worry about them.
Fraser, when you compare the All Blacks McReight to other combinations around the world, how high do you rank them? They've obviously got Wallace and TT, the Blackadder guys who play pretty well over in South Africa. But where do you rank them?
Yeah, obviously they got a fair few players there that have been around a while. We've got Sam Cane obviously closing on 100 tests as well, and Nardi and stuff like that. They're very dynamic and powerful, and they're a great back row, so I'm sure it's going to be a great challenge in the next 2 games.
So you mentioned before being a Sydney boy, which means to play or potentially play here this weekend, but it's been a while. Wallabies struggled for a bit when you were in Sydney, and then we spoke earlier this year about making Sydney a bit of a fortress. You've got those ones, Wales and Georgia, now stepping up here in a core stadium, bigger venue. How much of a motivation is it again to continue to try and make Sydney a fortress?
Yeah, I think any home game. I know when I made that statement, I was speaking specifically about Sydney. I'm pretty lucky to get more than a couple here this year. Like the Test match is probably big enough on its own as it stands. So like Sydney being probably not a huge part of being any more motivational than that. To win, I think hearing the crowd numbers is going to be pretty exciting. An afternoon Test I think is really exciting for the game too. So if we can turn a couple of those things into a real positive for us. I think it's going to be exceptional for us on Saturday afternoon.
But obviously, the big tournament we would have, all Aussie fans would have last watched was the World Cup. Do you think potentially nabbing it sort of could make a bit of a statement, sort of reinvigorate things? We're flat out trying to get it. Trust me. That's our main focus for these. As I said, we're test match by test match. The next 2 tests are for the Bledisloe, so that's 100% where our head's at. So statement on it or not, like that's 100% where our focus is, and I think it's really important for us to do that.